Hello everyone, welcome to this week's video from the Purple Penny. My name's Mark, I own and run the Purple Penny along with my wife Catherine. We try to do these videos every Monday at about this time, which is 12 PM Adelaide time. The Purple Penny is a small family-owned coin and banknote dealer in the northern suburbs of Adelaide in a suburb called Mawson Lakes. We've had our shop here for over 6 years, and if you're wondering what we do, we buy and sell coins, banknotes and collectibles. We're also authorised dealers for the Royal Australian Mint, the Royal Australian Mint being Australia's authorised body to create our circulating coins. They also create coins for collectors, and as an authorised dealer we do occasionally get some allocations of those coins which we can sell to our customers. The last week has been quite busy. It's actually been busy the last few months. Catherine and I caught up on our bookkeeping on the weekend and we're both surprised at how busy it has been. And we've only got you out there and here in Adelaide and customers out there in different parts of Australia to thank for that. You're the reason that we're busy, and it's been a fun few months here, that's for sure. Right, let's get into the news for the day. Now we're going to be closed in a couple of Saturdays' time on August the 16th, Saturday, August the 16th. We usually open from 9 to 1 on Saturdays, but we just decided to have a day off in a couple of Saturdays' time, so that's not this Saturday, but the Saturday after. So if you are here in Adelaide and you're planning on coming in on that day, please don't. Come in this Saturday and get whatever you need then, or we'll be open till 4 o'clock on Friday the 15th, so if you can drop in before then, we'd love to see you. So we will be closed on Saturday, August the 16th. Now, I see Peter Andrews is watching. We have, hang on a second, that's the wrong one. We have some data here supplied from Peter Andrews from last week, and I do apologise to Peter for not presenting this last week, and this data is a week old. Peter did his last survey of the selling prices of the silver Torres Strait Islander proof coin and found that the price has settled to $150 or a little bit below. There was one slightly higher buy it now sale for about $180 or so. So just interesting that price has settled down there to $150 or under $150, which is quite a bit less than the last silver proof $2 coin. An indication that the Mint's distribution processes are probably working a bit better, and the people that just buy these things for resale haven't been able to get their hands on them, and collectors have, which is always a good thing. And then while we're on the subject of Peter, I believe that his next issue of his magazine, Independent Coin News, is due out in the next few days. It's the August edition. Peter's magazine, Independent Coin News, is a free magazine. He has some support from advertisers. It's probably the only peer-reviewed numismatic publication here in Australia, or regular one, other than various publications from numismatic bodies. Always a lot of interesting articles in there, and of course questions and answers answered by the cat that lives next door to Peter. So if you are looking for Independent Coin News, just get online and Google Independent Coin News and you'll come up with their website. Alternatively, if you're on Facebook, have a look for Independent Coin News on Facebook and you can find out how to get your copy of the Independent Coin News magazine from there. Last week it was officially announced that the Adelaide Coin and Banknote Expo was on again this year. It's on Saturday and Sunday, October 4th and 5th here in Adelaide. At the usual venue, the Torrens Parade Grounds, which is about 300 metres north of North Terrace in the middle of the city. Entry this year is $5 with lower entry fee for pensioners and children. There's parking on site for $10, which is cash only. If you don't wish to pay for parking, then usually you can find a park for free on the other side of the Torrens River, which is probably about a 5 or 10 minute walk away from the Torrens Parade Grounds. Alternately, you can get public transport into the city, and it's only a 5 or 10 minute walk from the middle of the city to where the venue is. There'll be 5+ vendors there. The Royal Australian Mint will not be there this year. Catherine and I will be there as usual. We won't be in our usual spot. We're just scaling back our presence a bit this year. We'll be up on the back wall somewhere with a few tables. So if you are coming, make sure you come and say hello to us, because we always like meeting our customers. We'll just say hello to a few people before we get into the rest of the news. Hello Peter, hello Gwen, hello Catherine, who's outside catching up on the mail. Hello another Peter, hello Wendy, hello Mary, hello Ted, hello Sam, and hello Graham. Just a reminder, if you are out there in internet land watching on Facebook Live, or perhaps watching on YouTube later, our opening hours are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday 10 to 4 and Saturday 9 to 1. We're not open today. Several people have turned up at the front door today. We're not open on Mondays or Tuesdays. We've never been open on Mondays or Tuesdays. Right, let's have a look what's next in the news here. This is a follow-up to a story that I've talked about on and off for the last 3 years or so. In 2022, a museum in Germany was robbed, and 483 gold Celtic coins were stolen from that museum. Now, at the time, it seemed like a random robbery, but extra facts came out later on that the power had been cut to the museum deliberately to disable the security system, and 4 suspects were arrested in mid-2024 in northern Germany, and apparently at that time they were arrested with overwhelming evidence, including bags of melted gold. So these lowlifes had broken in and stolen these historic ancient coins, and then it looks like they've melted some of them down, which is really terrible because they're lost forever now. Anyway, those 4 men were sentenced this week. 3 of them were handed sentences of between 8 and 11 years jail. The 4th one wasn't sentenced for this particular crime, but received a fine or a sentence of 7 years for other things that he'd been found to be up to. And all 4 of them have been subject to €1.3 million garnishments of their assets to try and recover some of the value of those lost coins. Now, of course, they can't be recovered if they've been melted down, so the museum will have to use that money to obtain other coins for the museum. A pretty terrible piece of news that those coins have been destroyed. They lost forever and just simply for bullion. Terrible, terrible bit of news there. Next in the news, we have a couple of sales that have happened in auctions in the last couple of weeks. Just a couple of days ago, last Friday, a Australian Victoria Cross auctioned at Nobles. Nobles being a big auction house in New South Wales. Australian VCs do not come up for sale very often, and the last few that have come up for sale have been bought by wealthy individuals who have then donated them to the War Memorial. The one that came up for sale last Friday was awarded to Private Robert Beetham for gallantry in an attack on Amiens in August 1918. Unfortunately, Private Beetham was killed during that action, but this was awarded for bravery to him. There were 64 Victoria Crosses awarded to Australians in World War I, and just a bit over 100 awarded to Australians across all time. So it is a incredibly scarce medal. This medal sold at auction on Friday for $495,000 plus commission. So, you know, that's over $600,000 that someone has paid for this. We don't know who the person who paid for it is at the moment, but we can only hope that it is someone who will put it back into a public institution. This particular medal has actually sold several times in the last 50 years or so, including in 2004 for about $180,000. So this medal has passed around a fair bit. The legend about the Victoria Cross is that they are made from bronze taken from cannons that were captured by the British Army in the Crimean War in the middle 1800s. So, you know, probably the most well-known military medal in the world, and certainly in Australia sought after and very hard to obtain because they very rarely enter the market. Another auction result was from Roxbury's a couple of weeks ago, and just an interesting error here. Interesting for a couple of reasons. Firstly, that it actually reached the mainstream media. We got to see a picture of this coin on the news, I think the night before the auction was held, and it's a 2002 50 cent struck on a Samoa aluminium bronze planchet. The aluminium bronze planchet is 7-sided and underweight. Pretty obvious error. Graded by PCGS as MS62, and it sold for $3,050 plus $671 buyer's premium. In the grand scheme of things, not a bad result, but probably not what this sort of error would have got 5 or 6 years ago. It probably would have got more than that. The error market does go in cycles, and I would say at the moment it's a little bit softer than what it was 5 years ago. Now, how did this happen? I did have a look at the Royal Australian Mint report from 2002, but I couldn't find the information I wanted. There's really only two ways it could have happened. One is that the Royal Australian Mint was minting coins for Samoa in 2002, and somehow blank contamination ended up happening at the mint here in Australia. Alternatively, the blanks that the Royal Australian Mint was buying, the supplier was making blanks for Samoa, and blank contamination happened at the supplier of blanks to the Royal Australian Mint. That's really the two ways that it could happen. Pretty spectacular error and pretty desirable because it is so obviously wrong. We can recognise that as a 50 cent design, and we can recognise that it's got the wrong number of sides. We can also recognise that it's the wrong colour and made from the wrong material, so a pretty spectacular error. And as Peter has said, it does look a bit cheap at $3,050 plus $671. You know, I would have thought 5 years ago this would probably be a $6,000 to $7,000 coin. Just interesting how the market has softened a little bit in the last few years. Now, there is a new release coming up this Thursday from the Royal Australian Mint. Thursday the 7th of August, we've got the continuation of the Kangaroo 1 ounce silver coins. This time it's the Bush Capital. So we have a depiction of kangaroos in Canberra on the coins this year. There is a frosted uncirculated coin, 10,000 mintage. Price of those is $100. And we have a 1 ounce fine silver proof coin, mintage of 5,000. Price of those is $150. As is usual, the proof one will be the harder one to get your hands on. We may have a small number of the frosted uncirculated coins available here in the shop on release date. The other release this Thursday is the second issue of the Steam Giants Australian Rail Heritage coins. There was a 7-coin set released a few years ago in 4 separate releases. There was a single coin with a folder, and then there was 3 releases of 2 coins each for coins to go into those folders. This particular release includes 7 coloured 50 cent pieces as well, all with nice trains on them. Had a look at them this morning. Not a bad looking set. Price of that is $150. We will have those available in the shop on Friday, and we're just tossing up about whether to put them on the website. There's a good chance they'll be on our website on Thursday as well. Now, I debated a bit what to talk about today, and I was going to talk about a hoard of coins and notes that we bought last year, but I decided to fall back on my love of history and how collecting coins gives you a taste of history. And I thought I would have a look at the link between some Australian pre-decimal coins that were released in 1951 and coins that were minted in Rome and Britain in about AD 320. And you might be wondering what that particular link is. And this is just part of what I love about coins, is the fact that 2 little letters on some Australian coins harken back to history from 1800 years ago. And if you do know your Australian pre-decimal coins, you probably know that in 1951 there were 4 denominations released that had a PL mint mark on them, and there's the 4 denominations there. There was penny, halfpenny, 3p and 6p, all had a PL mint mark on them, and the PL mint mark signified that they were minted in England, In 1951, there are also coins minted at the Royal Australian Mint in Melbourne, at the Royal Mint in Melbourne and the Royal Mint in Perth. Capacity problems meant that some of the coin production for Australia for 1951 had to be outsourced, and it was outsourced to the Royal Mint, who at that time were in London, on the site of the Tower of London, Tower Hill in the middle of London there. That's where the Royal Mint was. And that little PL Mint mark there does actually stand for something. Sorry, I've just lost my, there we go, I've lost my window. Now, we'll just have a close up on those little PL Mint marks, because it'll be a little bit hard to see on those bigger pictures there. So there's some close-ups there. So on the penny and half penny, you can see the little PL near the rim in between the Y of penny and the date. On the sixpence, it's just above the date there, just above the 1951. On the example that I chose, the P is a little bit obscured, probably with a little bit of dye fill or dye wear, but you can see the PL above the 1951. And on the threepence there on the bottom left, the PL is in the ribbon device either side of the three wheat sheaves. You can just see the PL there in the ribbon device below the K of KG and below the G of G. So what does that little PL mean? There were 7 million halfpennies made in London, 18 million pennies, 40 million threepences and 20 million sixpences. And interestingly, the Royal Mint did use their own dies, and the dies are quite distinct from the dies that were used in Australia, especially the reverse. You can actually pick these coins quite easily from other 1951 minted coins, and in fact coins of all other years with George VI on them and with that kangaroo. The dies are quite distinct and quite different to other coins minted elsewhere, and the quality of strike is quite different as well. They are much better struck than equivalent coins from Australia in the same year, and they all have that little PL mint mark, as I've already said a couple of times. What does a PL stand for? Well, that's subject to a little bit of conjecture, but we go back to historic times here. The PL mint mark harks back to 4th century Roman Britain, and it could stand for a couple of things, and both of those are Latin. The first of those is Pecunia Londinii, or money of Londinium, Londinium being the name of London in Roman Britain, and it also might stand for Percussa Londinio, or struck at Londinium, struck at London. Now, interestingly, it's thought that a Roman mint actually stood on Tower Hill, and Tower Hill was the geographical landmark that the Tower of London was built on. The Tower of London was built by William the Conqueror, was chosen as a defensive position. The hill was chosen as a defensive position. And in 1951, the Royal Mint actually stood on that very same tower. And you can see at the top there on the left a building, the Royal Mint building, that is still present at the Tower of London. No coin struck there anymore. It relocated in the early 1980s to Wales. And on the right there is a depiction of Roman coin making tools on a Roman coin. You can see the tongs on the left, a striking hammer on the right, and two dies in the middle there. So interesting to think that where 1951 Australian coins were struck at the Tower of London in 1951, that coins were struck by the Romans, or very nearby, 1800 years before. And then I thought what we'd do is we'd just close by looking at some London minted coins, Roman coins. We've got two Roman bronze coins there. They're both follis or folii, both minted in London. The top one minted by Constantine I at the Mint of London in AD 314. And you can see in the exergue is the bottom part of the design on the reverse. You've got the mint mark PLN. So that harkens back to our PL mint mark. And then the bottom coin there, it's a coin of Constantius II, minted in AD 324 or 325, again minted at London. And under the camp gate design there, the camp gate is a common design London coin, Roman coin of the 4th and 5th century. You've got the mint mark PLON, which indicates that it was minted in London, and again perhaps that stands for percussa Londinium, meaning struck in London. Interesting little bit of history there for you. Interesting link from Australian coins minted in 1951 back to about AD 320, when coins were being minted in London and marked as being minted in London by the Romans. Of course, that's not the only link to Roman times that we have here in Australian coins. Whenever you pick up a 20-cent piece that weighs 11.31 grams, and that was the same weight as a British florin, which of course was 2 shillings. 2 shillings or 1 shilling was 12 pennies, and the abbreviation for penny is D, and the D is short for denarius, which is a London coin denomination, so a Roman coin denomination. So every time you hold a 10-cent piece or a 20-cent piece in your hands, you are actually holding onto something whose history goes back to 2,000 and more years ago, when the Romans were striking coins. Again, just part of the reason why I love collecting coins is the cheap history that they entail holding in your hands. So, right, that's it for today. Good luck with the release this Friday. As I said, we will probably have train sets up on our website on Thursday, for the release on Thursday, and we'll probably have some of the uncirculated kangaroos up on our website on Thursday as well, so they'll be available from 8 o'clock Adelaide time on Thursday as usual. If you are here in Adelaide, do feel free to pop into the shop at release time on Thursday. We open at 10 on Thursday. We'll probably have stock in the shop as well of those things. And if you're not able to buy off our website, or you can't get into the shop, and you've entered the ballot and you're going to enter the ballot, then good luck in the ballot. Happy collecting, stay safe, and we'll see you the same time next week. Bye for now.